Welcome to another episode of Four Eyes Academia. Today is episode 52. We got myself, Manny, and we also have Chris.
Yo.
Stel.
Hey, guys.
Entered.
Hi.
Anyways, on the topic of video games, Netflix are planning to add video games to its service in the next year, hiring Mike Verdu, a former head of EA Mobile and Facebook AR/VR as Vice President of Game Development. I'm a bit scared to the fact that they're hiring somebody that was head of mobile gaming. So I'm a bit curious on how the games will turn out for Netflix itself.
I think the mobile gaming aspect is not something to scrutinize as much as just like how they would deliver games on that platform. Like, I guess because it's Netflix, I'm just assuming it'll be like something similar to Stadia, where it's like, okay, we're streaming games. But yeah, either way, I'm interested to see what it looks like, but I'm also not interested in like playing any of these games. I've got enough to play.
It's just going to be a way to, for me, increase the price of Netflix, add some funky streaming titles. I don't see how you're going to have any decent AAA titles come out on a streaming platform exclusively. There's going to be no reason for me to get a game on Netflix in comparison to Steam or on the PlayStation 5 or on my Switch or whatever. So no, not interested.
I'd be interested to know like who they're targeting for us, because if it's like more casual gamers, then I see it. But like you said, if it's like blockbuster AAA titles, I just don't see how it could physically work. But
I'm not.
It'd be cool to see.
I'm not sure what the crossover is between Netflix users and gamers. I don't think it's
interesting actually.
That consistent.
It'd
be interesting to see.
And that wraps up our new segment. So there's something that I mentioned before we started the recording, that there was a question I wanted to ask you guys. So I'm going to start writing articles for my friend's online magazine. And one of the first things that I'm starting to write is the title's called 5 Animes for Non-Anime Watchers. And I've had a few animes in mind that I want to write about. This is the list that I currently have. So Death Note, Attack on Titan, Erase, Waterkoi, and Demon Slayer. These are the 5 animes that I decided to pick to write an article about non-anime watchers that they should watch, to introduce them to anime, obviously. What would your recommendations be if you were to introduce somebody to anime?
I definitely say the ones you've got on the list are good ones. I'm not familiar with 2. So Demon Slayer, Waterkoi, I've never read or watched, so I wouldn't know what it's about. But I definitely think for first-time anime watchers, it needs to be easy, not too much shonen, not too much, it needs to kind of be easygoing for them. But I say this, but it goes back to conversation we've had in the past about recommendations and the big 3, one of the big 3 series being one of them. And I definitely stick by that argument to say that one of those series needs to be on there to kind of recommend to a new watcher. That's what I say. Something from the big 3 to start them off, so that also they not only have that experience, but we can contrast it with the anime from before and the anime series of today.
Even in 2021, you think that the big 3 should be one of the recommended animes for people?
Yeah.
No.
I do.
The reason why I would disagree with it is like I just feel like the standard of anime quality has changed quite a bit, and also I feel like even me, I didn't like it at this at first. The seasonal stuff, I didn't really like the seasonal stuff beforehand because I'm so used to having anime come out weekly. But I think it's actually a great idea for long-running anime. For example, Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, so on and so forth. They're cutting up the anime into seasons rather than doing weekly and adding stuff that's not necessary to the story. And I feel like I feel like the manga is the best representation of the story. And anime in the past has butchered that by adding filler when it wasn't necessary. And I feel like if you introduce somebody to for example, Naruto, Bleach, or even One Piece, you're not giving them the best representation of that story. And with the new gen of anime, they got it. They're getting it a lot closer to what I believe to what the mangaka wants, because one, they're not adding unnecessary stuff, and the stuff that they do add is it adds to the story.
I agree with a lot of the ones that you picked. So Death Note, I do like because it's quite there's not too much in terms of the mystical. A lot of it can make sense, even though we do have, you know, the what do you call it, Ryokan, what are they called?
Shinigamis.
The Shinigamis, yeah. Even though we have the Shinigami, there's not that much in the story that's entirely takes a lot to understand, or something that you would need prior knowledge of anime to understand. So I definitely agree with that. Attack on Titan is another one. It feels like it's very easy to get into. It captivates you from the start. So I've always thought that's a very, very good one. Erased, definitely. I feel like it's a good one, even though you do have the element of a guy being able to kind of go back in time and revisit his history. For the most part, it's still something that is quite, the way I'd put it is that it'd be very easy to see it in live action. So there's not too much to understand from a anime perspective, and someone who doesn't have anime could still figure out what's going on. I think after those three, that's when I start to look at preferences of stuff that they may previously like. So, for example, if they are, let's say, for example, there's a Harry Potter fan, I would definitely recommend Full Metal Alchemist. If they like a 90s vibe, or they're really big on music, I might pick Cowboy Bebop. Another one I might pick, maybe if they don't mind seeing a bit of lewd, then I might pick something like Shokugeki no Soma or Kakegurui, something where it's for the most part very easy to understand, but the lewd nature of the story could put a lot of people off.
I think for me, it'd be like, okay, if I know what that person usually likes, it'll be easier for me to recommend them. Like, I have a friend who likes watching, I have a friend who's obsessed with like Christopher Nolan movies. So I was like, okay, you should watch Paprika and like Zankiyo no Taro and all that stuff. Things with you have to follow, like pay close attention to plot lines. I recommended Baccano to her as well, for that reason. Or like if someone really likes Game of Thrones, you might be like, okay, I know what to recommend to you for anime. I think there's just so many different genres geared towards so many different demographics within manga and anime. Like it'd be really easy to recommend stuff to someone if you already know what they like in terms of books or movies or TV shows. So I think that's a good basis. But Attack on Titan and Erased, I think are good just like generally.
I feel like we had because again, I know we spoke about this before, is that we keep getting way more anime in recent years than we ever had before. We are getting slapped with dozens and dozens of anime per season. We never had that before. So like 10, 15 years ago, when people would recommend anime, it would literally be the same ones from one person to another. Is because the pool of great animes or good animes or the amount of animes people were watching wasn't as large. So you always hear somebody bring up Cowboy Bebop or one of the big three, or again, Death Note has been one that's always been recommended, Code Geass, so on and so forth. It was such a small pool, not a small pool, but it wasn't anywhere near as large as this. And I think the older we get and the more time pass on and the more anime is out there, the less likely you are going to have time to watch all these classics.
The problem I usually see with older shows compared to newer ones is that because there's so many new anime, when they're created, essentially trailers, soundtracks, first episodes are all made to be very, very engaging for the most part. I feel like we're currently in a place where we don't have as much patience as we used to. So we need something to grip us from the very, very beginning. And so when you see, for example, something along the lines of, let's say even One Piece, and you watch the first episode of One Piece, and you're like, it was okay, but there's like 1,000 episodes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this when there's, you know, another show here, 10 episodes in a season. Next season comes out next year. I can deal with that. I can catch up with that. I can be part of a discussion about that show without